Oh my betrayal. Succession, in my humble opinion, is amazing. In my Succession Season 1 analysis that went places, I gushed about the admiration I have for Succession, and how I find it to be the godfather of TV. Needless to say, watching every new episode of Season 3 has felt like the opposite of Tom's marriage. So I wanted to quickly talk about the ending of Season 3 of one of the greatest shows ever made. But before we begin, spoilers. By the way, Will Ferrell is the producer of this show. I just noticed that, wow. Season 1 was Kendall's shot at CEO. Season 2 was Shiv's, and Season 3 was Roman's. At one point, each one of them were promised and prepared to take over Logan's position. However, Logan only used his children to secure stockholders in the future of the company. He used Shiv to gain the trust of the Pierce family and to help with stuff like the Cruise Division cover-ups. He used Roman for his networking skills to start a relationship with Lucas Matson. Kendall lost the position of CEO when he chose Logan's birthday lunch over closing a deal at the offices. Shiv first lost out on the position the moment she announced herself as CEO in front of the Pierce family. Roman was out of the deal the moment he sent an accidental unsolicited picture to his father. And Connor is getting married, which is pretty cool, I guess. The point is, they've all been screwed over by Logan, and their relationship with him is just built on broken promises. So it makes sense that the Season 3 finale ends with all of the kids uniting against the one person responsible for their sibling rivalry, Kendall. Oh my gosh, let's talk about the promised one. The one who we all thought was gonna take the cake from the beginning. Kendall started Season 1 as an arrogant, naive hotshot who was only put in his position because his dad was running the company. If Logan is Daedalus, Kendall is Icarus. And in Season 2 and 3, Icarus transformed into, oh wait, he's still remained the same arrogant degenerate. Oh yeah, that checks out. To be fair, like Shiv and Roman, Kendall at least understood from the beginning that Waystar needed to move in a new direction, heading towards stuff like the future of tech and new media, adapting to a changing climate and all that good stuff. Unlike this climate denier who was preoccupied with buying up all the local TV stations he could. This is around the time that Logan seemed incapable of running the company. I mean, when he first started to appear incapable of running the company. Because of Logan's state, Kendall tried to kill his dad with a vote of no confidence and a bear hug. Both failed. The bear hug failed with Kendall backing out of the deal, after Logan gained leverage over Kendall. That leverage being the fact that Logan's people covered up Kendall's car accident, where Kendall crashed someone else's vehicle into a river, killing the passenger and leaving their body in the water. We start Season 2 only 48 hours after Season 1. Kendall is unprepared and broken. Then he has to go on TV to declare his withdrawal from the bear hug. He remains beaten down and defeated for the rest of the season, up until Logan needs a high-level employee to take the fall for what happened with Cruises. Other than Logan, the only logical person was Kendall, and Logan was more than willing to send his second eldest son to die. But towards the end of their conversation, Kendall asks Logan if the position was ever going to be his. And Logan responds with,
"You're not a killer. You have to be a killer."
Logan also says this to Kendall earlier in the season.
"And, keep clean this weekend, eh, killer?"
Almost like he was hinting that he wanted Kendall to take him out, because it's pretty apparent that the one child Logan wants to succeed in the future is the company he made from the ground up, which is why he wants someone competent to run it like Matson, since after all, this company is his legacy. At the end of Season 2, Kendall is back on that TV, but this time he calls out his dad for being corrupt and begins his attack. Kendall made the right move, and we see this look of approval on Logan's face, but what the happened? I was surprised at how Kendall just completely destroyed his comeback story for Season 3 after what appeared to be such an incredible character transformation in Season 2. This season I was expecting absolute warfare, but it was reduced to hollow stunts and gestures that were thought up by an ego-driven child who has a complete lack of self-awareness, to put it lightly. This is why Logan blocked Kendall's number permanently, because it's not that Kendall was a threat, it was more of how Kendall's petty attempts to attack Waystar and his siblings were proving his incompetence. By the way, something I picked up on was that after getting ridiculed by ATN and other news outlets owned by ATN, Naomi, clearly intoxicated at the time, intentionally crashed her car. This is mirroring how Logan smeared Kendall in the news in Season 1, which reignited Kendall's drug habit, which subsequently caused him to get in a car accident, helping him slowly come to the realization that his father is a monster. Throughout this series, Kendall claims that he is a good person, but in a lot of ways sees no different from his dad. Kendall not being able to find his kid's present was a perfect metaphor of the relationship he has with his kids, as Kendall is unable to locate their present amongst all of the pointless excess and material. Kendall was and still is a neglectful, absent father, a trait that is passed down to him from his own dad, even though apparently he didn't have it as bad as Connor went 3 years without seeing his own father. Perhaps one of my favorite moments was when Naomi gives Kendall a watch for his birthday, a callback to Tom giving a watch to Logan for his birthday in the pilot episode, as Tom had a complete lack of understanding as to what Logan wanted or who he was. Kendall setting up people with his watch guy is also indicative of that very thing. After dropping off a bunch of money at the house belonging to the waiter's parents, Kendall started to get his ego back. But this season was filled with Kendall getting destroyed, as each episode is full of failure after failure after failure, forcing him to come to terms with the fact that he is a terrible person and he is incompetent. The entire season was meant to remove Kendall's ego and arrogant behavior that has been getting in the way of his success. When it comes to people who are up to the task of taking over Waystar, Matsson was the right choice, as the merger between Waystar and Gojo would appease shareholders in Wall Street, so making a deal with Matsson is the most logical decision, but not something Logan really wanted to do. Instead, he would have preferred having one of his kids take over the company, but he can clearly tell that none of them are up to the task. Also, his resentment towards them doesn't help, as he's almost envious of the opportunities he's given his kids, and kind of looks at them like he failed them, which is why I find it wildly disturbing that it's implied Logan is currently trying to have more kids. Matsson and Logan both created huge Goliaths of companies from nothing, so Matsson was the only one to pitch to Logan about taking over as CEO, because he had the track record and the proper reasoning to back it. Kendall understood that Gojo was the company needing to obtain Waystar rather than the universe, but then ruins this moment with Matsson by offering him the same kind of hookup he gave Greg the Egg earlier in the season, the same kind of treatment that sent Greg running back to Logan. Originally, Roman approached Matsson to take Waystar's content library and combine it with the Gojo streaming app, because Stargo, aka Waystar's own streaming app, is supposedly one of the worst things ever made. During their first meeting, Matsson asks Roman, when will Logan die? Because in his words, he didn't want a man hanging over him. So judging by the initial conversation that Roman and Matsson had, Matsson is a shark and he's going to come for Logan. But Logan at least knows this and is prepared for this when setting up the deal with Matsson, because it's not that Matsson respects Logan, which he doesn't, but I mean, even if he did, Logan was never the one for flattery. Logan is just doing this deal because it's the best route and he wants to win. Matsson's proposal is to buy Logan out and take over the company. Logan would keep a title and secure his other assets, but Matsson takes over the board. With Matsson running things, there is no assurances that could be made for Logan's children. I find it fascinating that earlier in the episode, Matsson told Logan his downfall, when he explains that at one point in ancient Rome, they wanted to make the slaves wear something so they could identify them, but decided not to do it, because the slaves would then realize how many of them there were, and inevitably rise up. The slaves being Logan's children, and Logan being the leaders of ancient Rome. A change of control needs a supermajority in the holding company that the kids were given in the divorce settlement. In order to secure their positions at Waystar, the three of them team up to stop the deal from going through. But Shiv's one mistake was letting Tom in on the plan, making the same mistake that Kendall made when he told Frank about the bear hug too early, because Tom notified Logan that his kids were making a move against him, mainly because Tom knows that Logan has never been once, and also the fact that Logan rewards loyalty. Heck, Logan gave the position of acting CEO to Jerry after all of her years of loyalty, and Tom, already sacrificing himself to go to prison if need be, put him on Logan's nice list. Logan needing to renegotiate the terms of his and Caroline's divorce settlement was pretty convenient timing, because in the previous episode, Caroline explains how she had to open up the divorce agreement with Logan since her new husband loves the Eaton Square flat, so their mother just sold them out for a flat. Shiv has been unknowingly pushing Tom to betray her for a while now. On their wedding night, she proposed that she and Tom have an open marriage, something Tom never took the opportunity to explore since he wanted to stay committed to his wife, perhaps the one redeeming quality he has. Their conversations about having kids devolved into her wanting to freeze her embryos, something that would cause a fair amount of red flags for Tom. But to be fair, her commitment issues as well as her hesitancy with having kids stemmed from her having two very dysfunctional parents who use their own kids to get at each other, and a mother who admitted to her own daughter that she should have never had kids. Plus, on top of all of this, it appeared to Tom that Shiv was willing to let Tom go to jail. They had incredibly poor communication skills as they were constantly wrapped up in their own problems and talked at each other rather than to each other. Shiv remained cold, distant, and appeared to be unfaithful this entire season and for the rest of the series. Heck, when Shiv made the phone call to Tom in the finale, Tom asked what kind of position he would receive once they took over the company, but Shiv neglected to give him a clear answer, affecting Tom's decision on revealing Shiv's plan to Logan. Tom betraying Shiv hurts even more when you realize that Shiv basically sacrificed the last chance she had of taking over Logan's position, when at the end of season 2 she requested that Tom not be the one to go to prison, making a deal with the devil and proving that she was willing to put family in front of the company, while Logan was willing to do the opposite. Tom made his decision to turn on Shiv during this phone call. The best way I can prove this is that earlier in the season, Tom told Greg,
Nero pushed his wife down the stairs, and then he had Sporus castrated and he married him instead.
And then after the phone call with Shiv, he talks to Greg again, saying to him,
Do you want to come with me, Sporus?
By the way, Greg defending himself when Roman came in with the insults was amazing. It's showing us that Greg is becoming one of the Roys, and may be a worthy adversary in season 4. When confronting Logan at the end of season 3, I was so proud of Roman for not backing down like he did during the vote of no confidence, even though the strategy ended up failing. He and Shiv were left as stunned as Kendall was after he lost in season 1. I think it's interesting how the people who the kids formed alliances with were all in the room when this went down. Kendall lost Frank, Roman lost Jerry, and Shiv lost Tom. And I think it's for the best, because these three right here are the children's future if they don't kill their dad. These kids no longer have anything in the divorce agreement protecting them from this deal going through, nor do they have any partners or alliances with anyone else at the company. The kids are now as close to being outsiders as they ever were. I think the next season will be the last, because it will be the one season where the kids are now on their own, and will have to fight their way to the top. It will be interesting seeing how Logan takes on the kids, knowing that the only way Logan managed to keep them in their place was by having them pitted against each other, which is why we get this legendary reaction from him when all of his kids stand their ground. Those are all my thoughts on the ending of season 3. If you want to hear me talk more about Succession, which I really hope you do, let me know, because if there's enough interest in it, I will definitely talk about this show more in the future. Thanks for watching.